But I want to turn to Danny Cevallos, who's joined us at the table, our legal analyst. This is something we haven't really talked about yet tonight, but now that we have President-elect Trump, what happens to all these legal battles that he's been fighting, particularly the ones that were supposed to be sentencing was supposed to be coming up soon? On
a night where we're all very careful not to make predictions, I'm about to make a bunch with a lot of confidence, and they have to do with Trump's legal cases. Here are things that I think we can say with a lot of confidence. He has 4 outstanding criminal cases. 2 are federal, 2 are state cases. The federal cases are going to go away. They're going to go away in a number of different ways. He can appoint an attorney general who will simply do his bidding and dismiss the cases. He can instruct the Justice Department to not even bother with the appeal of the already dismissed federal case. Those cases are, for all intents and purposes, gone. That leaves the state court cases. We have New York, and we have a sentencing, not only a sentencing coming up in a couple of weeks, but Justice Merchan is also deciding a motion to dismiss. This is all happening in the next couple of weeks.
Remind people which case that is.
This is the case that he was, the only case that he was tried and convicted on here in the state of New York several months ago, and he's awaiting sentencing on that case.
This was around Stormy Daniels.
Exactly. It had to do with hush money payments and reimbursements to Michael Cohen related to an alleged affair with Stormy Daniels. So that case, in all likelihood, that sentencing might get adjourned now. But even if it weren't, even if it were to go forward on November 26th, in all likelihood, it's not a case that he's going to get prison time on. Now, reasonable minds can disagree. I'm approaching this as a criminal defense attorney. This is barely a felony in New York. Yes, it's 34 counts, but you have all the factors that lead towards somebody getting a non-incarceration sentence. You have somebody over 70 years old. Like a house arrest, maybe straight probation. You have someone over 75 years old, no guns, no drugs, no violence. These are things that New York courts see and sentence on every day. So in the spectrum of criminals who might be able to get a probation-only or house arrest sentence, Donald Trump is in a high likelihood. That's even if that case goes forward this month for sentencing. It might not. The real question is, will prosecutors agree to an adjournment, given that Donald Trump just won the election? That's kind of an X factor. Then you have Georgia, and Georgia is, I'm going to use a legal term, a disaster. That legal case is in a vortex. By the way, it hasn't been stayed. It's technically moving along, and we've heard nothing about it in the last several months. It is
because of a bunch of things that happened with the prosecutor.
Exactly right.
Get down in the rabbit hole.
Fair to say, again, I'm going to go out on a limb. The prosecutor in the Georgia case, the elected prosecutor, made some bad decisions along the way. And so because of those decisions, the case is now mired in appeal, and she may get disqualified. If it does, if that case is orphaned, then they have to find a new prosecutor to take it on. But let's say, for example, the case will still be pending when Donald Trump is inaugurated. Let's assume that it is. It will likely, all the state cases, to the extent they're still pending, will be stayed. And that's because of the Constitution's supremacy clause. In all likelihood, those cases will be put on pause. And 4 years from now, who knows what the political situation will be in Fulton County, Georgia, if that DA will still be even the DA, or if that case will have been tossed because the DA has been disqualified. So the state court cases, New York doesn't pose a tremendous threat to Donald Trump, even though it's why he's a felon. He's not likely to get sentenced to any serious prison time. Again, reasonable minds can and do disagree with me on this point, but I don't think it's likely. And Georgia, I just don't think they can get that case together. By the way, let's say miraculously they brought it to trial. The last high-profile RICO case in Georgia was the longest case in Georgia history. It took them 8 months to select a jury. Fulton County is just not good at speedy trials in complex cases. I'm sorry to say. And so Donald Trump's case may never see the light of day in Georgia.
So it sounds like the headline, bottom line here, is he's unlikely to see any legal consequences or any major legal cases go forward during his presidency.
One thing we haven't talked about is all the civil cases against him. And he's faced many millions of consequences as a result of those civil cases, including E. Jean Carroll. All of those are things that, in all likelihood, he's not going to get the benefit of, say, an immunity decision. I mean, theoretically, he could. But so he is on the hook for those civil cases. They will move forward.
Even as President of the United States.
Sure. Well, yes, there are immunity issues, but those will survive. In theory, they'll be back on the hook if he has a judgment against him after he gets out of office. So civil consequences are not the same as criminal consequences. And he has suffered criminal consequences. He's a felon. he is going to be, when the smoke clears, if Justice Merchan does not dismiss the case, which he might do next week, but if that case survives, if that conviction survives, he is a felon. He may not serve a prison term, but if it survives, I mean, that certainly is something that is not a desirable status for an American citizen. But in all likelihood, I think we might see the sentencing adjourned. And even New York, that case could get thrown out by Justice Merchan based on immunity, based on a pending motion to dismiss.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.